I speak, do I have the right accent? And I can speak many different versions of the same language, but the way I say things are not necessarily understood in the same way. So I'm going to share with you some pretty old research. It's not exactly cutting edge. It was started off in about 350 BC by the Greek philosopher Hippocrates, who did a lot of work on communication styles and personality types. And he made observations that there are, in general, 4 types of people in the world, and we're all a blend of those 4 types. And he identified these types, and we'll go through them in a second, and he talked about how they like to be communicated to, how they're motivated, and so on. He got that to be very accurate, made some really good observations. He also had his opinions on why we are the way we are, and he put that down to having too much blood in your body, too much fire in your body, too much water in your body, and too much bile in your body. So he got those things a little wrong, and for many reasons, that being one of them, his research kind of bombed. Dropped out of use for about 1800, 1900, 2000 years, something like that. Until it was picked up early 20th century by some of these early psychologists, people like Freud, Immanuel Kant, Elias Porter, Carl Jung, who picked up Hippocrates' observations and turned them into something more modern. And this is what I would say most, or certainly many, personality tests today are based on. Who's ever taken a personality assessment? Put your hand up. And of course, what have you taken? That tells me. Put your hand up if you've never taken one, by the way. Okay, so a few people in the room never taken one either. What it tells me is that there are different people in the world, and we communicate differently. And I need to make sure that the way I work is going to tie in with what my stakeholder is looking for. So let's have a quick summary. In Navanter, we have our own take on Hippocrates' research, and we put them on 2 axes. Up the left-hand side, we have assertiveness. How assertive is somebody? Isaac, I have a meeting with Monique tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Can I have that information I asked for on my desk by 5? Thank you. Very assertive. Or Dominic, I've got a meeting with Monique tomorrow. Just thought I'd let you know. And then I hope Dominic comes offers me the information. So assertiveness, how willing am I to push for what I want in an organization or in life? Do I ask for things, or do I hope that people will just offer them to me? And along the bottom, emotiveness. A couple of ways we can look at this. One of them is, how much of myself do I like to bring into the workplace? Is there one Neil in the workplace, and if you see me at the weekend, you'll see someone completely different? Or is there just one Neil all along, and you get me as I am? That's one way to look at it. The other way we can look at it is, how do I like to make decisions? Do I like to make my decisions low emotiveness based on data, or high emotiveness based on gut feeling? So 2 ways to look at it, yet quite similar results, depending on what you're most comfortable with. And then depending on where you sit on that, we give you a name. So if you are high assertiveness, low emotiveness, I'm going to say you are a realist, and we'll talk about what these mean in a second. If you share high assertiveness with the realist, but you're more emotive, you bring more of yourself into the workplace, we say you are an idealist. Lower assertiveness, but still bringing something of me into work, I'm going to say you are a harmonizer. And low assertiveness, low emotiveness, I'm going to say you are an investigator. And there's no right or wrong. It's important that we know our strengths, it's important that we know how we communicate, and it's useful if I know how my stakeholder communicates as well, because then I can tweak what I do. As we said, it's my responsibility to communicate effectively, so I can tweak my way of communicating to match my stakeholders' accent, their communication style. So there are 5 clues that I can get for what someone is. I'd like you to think, I'm going to go through these. As I go through them, think about who you are. Also think about perhaps one of your key stakeholders, or a colleague, or I don't know, somebody at home, and think about what they are as well. First one is motivation. What motivates me? Very high level, what motivates me is 1 clue. The next 3 are the 3 parts of communication. What are the 3 bits that make up any communication? Language, I had verbal and non-verbal. So I'm going to say language, the words I use. Non-verbal, my tone of voice, and the third one? I call that the words I use. Gestures, body language. Yeah, so those three things will give us clues to who I am and who other people are. Body language, the words I use, and tone of voice. And the last thing is, what's my preferred environment? How do I like to set things up in my workplace, in my life? So let's go through those 5 for each type. As I said, as I do this, we'll go through quite quickly, think about who you are, and think about someone you work with, and can you spot the type in those? And I would say about 70% of us have a dominant style. About 30% of us, you might be thinking, well, I'm a bit of that and a bit of that. That's fine, that's fine. It just means you're a blend, you're more flexible. So if I'm a realist, I'm motivated by achieving something. I'm motivated by achieving a goal and moving obstacles out the way in order to achieve that goal. Not so bothered about how I get there. You know, if there are a few casualties along the way, I'll pick those up afterwards, or better still, get someone else to pick those up afterwards for me. Let's focus on achieving something and moving the business forward. The type of body language you'll get from a realist. If you meet a realist for the first time, you will probably get a firm, but perhaps quite brief handshake, and very good eye contact. And if you're a realist too, then you'll be completely comfortable like that, and it will feel like a normal communication. But if Justina, who appears not to be a realist because you're already giggling and saying, Neil, please look away in your head, that will begin to feel odd. So realist, that high assertiveness, means really good eye contact, really strong hand gestures, really firm handshake, and so on. The type of words a realist might use, lots of verbs, lots of action words. Do this, achieve that, go there, and so on. Often delivered in a command-type manner. And tone of voice, realists tend to speak quite quickly and quite flat. I'm not going to bring loads of emotion in to cloud my message. Let's just deal with what we need to deal with and then move on to the next thing. And in terms of preferred environments, realists like to set things up around them so that they feel confident and successful. So my former sales director was definitely a realist. He had a long, thin office, and the door was back there, and he had his desk across the office here at the very back, facing outwards. So if you walked in to see him, he would watch you, have eye contact all the way down the office, and there would be one seat opposite him where Punita is. And we would be face-to-face with the desk between us. We'd have good eye contact. We could do hand gestures. Don't bother asking me how my weekend was, because really I haven't got time for that. Let's just get on and achieve something. If you looked around Steve's office, you would see charts on the wall of how successful things were going. Strangely, only when things were going well. It was a photo of himself with the company president, a photo of himself with a minor celebrity. There was a medal he won in a charity fund run. They're just things that suggest confidence. We all know someone like that, don't we? But put your hand up if you know someone like that. Okay. So, strong realist. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need realists. We need realists. We need all these types of people in an organization. Sharing that high assertiveness, but bringing more of themselves into the office, are idealists. And an idealist is motivated by being part of a team. If I'm an idealist, I like to have a good group around me, and I get my energy and my motivation from being part of a team. Really important for me to be popular. If I'm a manager and an idealist and I have to deliver bad news, particularly if it's not my bad news, I will feel bad because I will think that bad news is reflecting on me. So, idealists motivated by being part of a team. Body language you get from an idealist, you'll probably get a firm handshake, good eye contact, perhaps a warmer handshake. Good eye contact for about 3 seconds before I'm distracted by something over here and something over here. And gosh, look at the hat stand back there with all the different colours on. Isn't it lovely? Because idealists have shocking attention spans. And I can say what I want about them because I am one. Idealists, very motivated by things for a short period of time. But if you look at an idealist to-do list, if they've bothered to make one, you will probably find 40 things on there, each of them 5% complete. I can see the man in the orange T-shirt. I mean, the shirt colour tells me what you are, sir, but I can see you chuckling away because I'm describing you, aren't I? Yeah. We struggle with things like that. We struggle with the follow-through. So, body language, what do we want? Words. The words an idealist might use. It's all about me, it's all about standing at the front and getting everyone to look at me and being popular. So my words will be dramatic. I use lots of adjectives to tell you how things are. It's going to be amazing, it's going to be terrible. It was so red! And so on. Everything is a story. My tone of voice tend to speak quite quickly, a bit like a realist does. But as an idealist, I'll bring lots of emotion into it too. So I use high notes and low notes, loudly and quietly, in order to communicate the drama behind my message as well. Idealists are very good at using pauses. and then forgetting what they were about for dramatic effect. And my preferred idealist, my preferred environment if I'm an idealist. I can't see anything in this room that looks messy enough. But you know what it's like, or gentleman at the back there, certainly you start something, you put it down. You start the next thing, you put it down. You end up with chaos on your desk. And then Sean comes over and says, Neil, can I have that something or other? Yeah, okay. I'll bring it to your desk in about 15 minutes. And then I'm there trying to find it. So that's idealist. We live in chaos. We're not necessarily comfortable with it, but it just sort of happens. Who knows an idealist? Okay. Sharing, the emotiveness, but lower assertiveness is the harmonizer. And harmonizers are motivated not by being part of a team, but having a comfortable team around them. If I'm a harmonizer, I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy because it's not about me, it's about you. Body language for a harmonizer tends to move more slowly. You'll get a handshake, it will be a softer handshake. You get good eye contact with a harmonizer, but only briefly, because it's important that we connect, because we're people after all, but then I would rather look away. I'd rather look away. I don't want that constant eye contact as we're speaking. So rather than Steve with his face-to-face setup with somebody, if I was having a meeting with, can't see your badge. Help me on that one.
It's
Mary. I would rather sit here. Maybe on a 45-degree angle. We can look for each other for agreement, but then I'll look away. I'll certainly move away from that speaker as I've got my microphone on. I'll look away, and I'd rather get my focus from somewhere else in the room. Words that a harmonizer might use. Remember, it's not about me, it's about you, so it'll be very inclusive language. Lots of let's, shall we, could we. I would never ask you to do something that I wouldn't be prepared to do myself. And tone of voice, I'll speak more softly, more gently. Harmonizer is very good at using pauses too. What do you think as a harmonizer I might be doing as a pause? Two things, yeah. One of them is reflecting. What else? Observing the reaction in the other person. The harmonizer is very emotionally aware. Preferred environment for a harmonizer, I'll probably have something of myself in the office. I had a harmonizer working in my team for a number of years. She used to sit next to me. She came from Hong Kong. And it was her first job after leaving university, and she'd grown up in Hong Kong. And she had this odd habit. She came in every day, and she would put a handbag on the desk, and she'd reach into her handbag, and she'd take out, not a packet of biscuits, an external hard drive. This is before the days of smartphones, like a proper external hard drive. She'd put it on her desk, put her handbag on the floor, and get on with her work. End of the day, handbag back on the desk, hard drive back in the bag, and off she'd go. And I let this behavior go for about 3 weeks before curiosity really got the better of me. And I plucked up the courage to say, Kelly? Yes, said Kelly. What's with the hard drive? And she looked at me like it was from another planet. She said, well, it's all my photos. Because she was from a different country. She was in her first job after leaving uni. If she was in a break and somebody said to her, Kelly, what's it like when you're from? She would go and get a hard drive, plug it into a laptop and say, well, this is my family, and this is my dog, and this is the mountain behind my house. Really important, kind of extreme, true story. Really important for harmonizers to bring something into the office. You need to know me, not just what I do. Last but not least, investigators. Motivated a little bit like realists by achievement. But unlike a realist, it's not how quickly I can do it. It's not how quickly I can do it, it's how well I do it. So for an investigator, quality is very important. Investigators make very good project managers, very good at seeing the goal, breaking that goal down into steps, and then working through those steps to achieve something. Very good under pressure. When there's a crisis kicking off, the realist is there, barking orders around. The idealist is panicking, the harmonizer's crying in the corner, and the investigator is sat there quietly observing what's going on, formulating a plan, and then stepping in and saying, okay, now, let's deal with it. Body language from investigator, a little bit like the realist. I'm not going to give much away, but I'll do things more gently and more slowly than a realist because I'm lower assertiveness. The type of words I would use. As an investigator, I might not say a lot unless it's important because I don't want to cloud an issue with things which are irrelevant. But where it's something I know a lot about and it's important to the project, I will give you lots of detail to make sure that you understand me in the way I want to be understood. What have we got next? Tone of voice. Quite flat, a bit like a realist, but slower because quality is important. I want processing time before I go and say the wrong thing. I need thinking time. Preferred environments, I had an investigator in my sales team for a long time as well. At the end of every single day, I thought she'd left the company because her desk was completely clear, a pen on one side and the keyboard pushed neatly towards the back. Because if I'm supposed to do a good quality job, I can't do that in chaos. And as the idealist next to her, she'd come in the morning and sort of gradually move my thrown paper back over the join. We all know those people too, don't we? Good. So, we all know people like this. Talk to me though. What does it mean for communication? We have got a little bit of time, so I would like you to turn to a couple of people next to you, and I'm going to divide the room. Down the middle is an obvious divide, and divided by the fire escape sign, just there. If you are in front or behind, that will be a divide as well. Realists, idealists, harmonizers, investigators. Get into small groups, talk to the person next to you or a couple of people next to you, and I would like you to tell me, please, a couple of things. I have some questions for you. Could you please tell me, how does this person want to be communicated to, and what should I be doing in my message to make it get through in the right way? Okay, so how does that person want to be communicated to? What should I be doing in my message to get it through in the right way? How much detail should I be using? How much humor should I be bringing in, for example? How much strategic alignment might these people want to see? That's fine. Let's start with the realists because they do like to... Oh, I've got some echo. Let's start with the realists because they do like to go first. If I'm communicating with a realist, how much detail should I be using? Give me some tips for communicating to a stakeholder who is a realist. Keep it short. Good. Straight to the points. Good. What else? Bullet points. Bullet points. Yeah, don't give me paragraphs. Or if you're going to sit down with me, don't begin the conversation with, well, it all started, because you will be finished before you've started. Good. Bullet points.
Don't take anything personal if they're too direct at you.
Good point. Yeah, they might be quite blunt back at me. Don't take it too personally. Idealists. Give me some tips for communicating to an idealist.
Really brief.
I missed that, sorry.
Really brief communication.
Really brief. Yeah, a bit like the realist. Don't make it too long, particularly if it's written, because I do not have the concentration span. Any other tips for communicating to an idealist? Sorry? Make it personal, yeah. Show me what's in it for me, because it's all about me, really, and whatever you've come to tell me is about me. Good. Harmonizers. Nice people at the back. How do I communicate to a harmonizer? Good. Don't miss the small talk. Don't miss the small talk, because that's important, and help me to understand the effect on the others in the organization, too. And what are we talking about? Investigators. Facts. Details. Good. No small talk. Yeah, I do need the detail if I'm an investigator. I need to have confidence that it's accurate. Good.